today. Let's get started with level 4 of our 4-part series in helping to relieve our back pain. So if you haven't already checked out levels 1 through 3, make sure you go back and you start with level 1. This is meant to naturally progress and eventually create an entire yoga therapy sequence to help you with your low back pain. So let's get started with the next level of exercises. So for our first 2 exercises, we're actually going to come to a tabletop position. What I want you to do though is start in a cross-legged seated posture and make sure that the transition to tabletop, you're able to roll over your ankles to get there. By transitioning this way every time you come to your tabletop posture, you're going to start to open up the muscles of the ankles, which actually has an effect on your overall alignment with your knees and your hips, and ultimately affects the pain in the low back. So this type of transition has a purpose, and if you haven't checked out the video on healthy ankles, make sure you check that out to have a better understanding of how we can have more mobility in the ankles, because I'm telling you, it does affect up the body all the way to the low back. So Christine, let's go ahead and roll forward over the ankles, placing the hands, wrists right under the shoulders, and the knees right under the hips. So first things first, she wants to make sure that the top of the foot is on the floor. Now, if your ankle does not touch the floor, then you could always place a cushion underneath so that you have something to press into. This is very important because it takes the pressure off of the knee and starts to strengthen the muscles here. So for Christine, we don't need the cushion. She can lay flat to the floor. Although I'll take this cushion and use it for my knees. So you notice she has her wrists right below the shoulders, knees right below the hips. You're going to extend the left leg out. She's going to flex the foot like she's pressing into a wall. So press into my hand. Yes. Now pretend my hand is between the shoulder blades and press into my hand. Do you see that lift in the shoulder blades? So imagine my hand there. You're always pressing into the hand. Now you can extend the right arm forward, thumb towards the sky, and gaze to the thumb. On an exhalation, draw the knee and elbow towards each other, rounding down chin to chest. Inhale, lengthen. Now see what happens to her hips. She's got a pretty good alignment here. You want to drop your hip bone to my hand? Yes, to square the hips. Exhale, knee to elbow. Yes. So come to rest. Never in a child's pose, because with our low back pain that can aggravate it. So we'll rest here in hero's pose, keeping the, imagine my hand at the back of the neck, and you can press into my hand to keep the back aligned. Just breathing here, opening up the quads. When you're ready to take the second exercise, we can roll forward once again. Before we do, you want to take that movement at least 10 times on each side. So 10 times right side, 10 times left. If that's too much at first, you can try to do 2 rounds of 5 each. So maybe 5 on the right, 5 on the left, and then take it again. Once you're able to do that, we're going to come to the second level of that exercise, which is to add on an additional movement. So roll forward once again, come to your tabletop. I think I'll come back here for this. So once again, let's take this leg and stretch it out straight, flexing through the foot and aligning the hip. So touch your hip bone to my hand. Yes, so the hip is nice and level. Now we're going to bend the knee, ankle above the knee, keep the foot flexed. Take the hand out once again and press into my hand here. Yes. Now the elbow will bend, and on an inhalation, she's going to look up, arch up, heart forward, knee lifting up as much as you can, and then on the exhale, rounding as much as you can, drawing elbow, forehead to the knee. On the inhale, reaching up through bent leg, bent arm, arching the back, feeling the heart pressing forward, and on the exhalation, drawing it in. Be mindful as you come up, this hip bone's gonna wanna lift, so keep drawing the hip towards my hand, Yes, lifting up, up, up. On the exhale, squeezing in. So Christine, you can come to rest. And again, yogis, you want to make sure that you're taking this movement 10 times on each side. That can be quite strenuous, especially for the wrist. So if you need to rest in between, do that. If at any time it becomes too much for the wrist, check out our video on modifying for the wrist. There's some tips and hints in there of other ways to orientate the hands to relieve the pressure of the wrist. So that way these exercises are accessible to anyone, no matter their limitations. Now let's move on to the third and final exercise of this sequence. Ready for the third and final movement of the sequence, we're going to take some dynamic cobra posing. So you really want to ensure that this movement and this strength is coming from the right place. So the first thing to do is to lie down in a prone position on the belly, and notice how her toenails are on the floor, so the toes are not tucked, and the feet are about hip width apart, so everything is in one straight line in alignment with the pelvis. Now, I want you to pay attention to your butt. So in this posture, it's really easy for the strength to come from squeezing the butt, which is compressing the sacrum and ultimately compressing all the muscles in the low back. This is not what we want. Instead, we want engagement of the glutes and the thighs through pressing the hip bones into the floor. So Christine, I want you to relax. Now I want you to squeeze your butt. Right, so you can feel that clenching, and here at home you can even do the same, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Now release the clench. And bring your awareness to just your hip bones. Don't worry about activating the muscles of the butt. Just simply try to press your hip bones more firmly into the floor and forward. So you're pressing the hip bones down and forward, almost like you're trying to scoop the mat forward. Does that feel different for you? Mm-hmm. Yes. So at home, give this a try so you can feel the difference between squeezing your butt and activation through rooting, right? Pressing hip bones forward like you're trying to scoot your mat forward. So now that we have this foundation set, we can work on the rest of the posture. So the foundation of this posture is going to be the hip bones. And when I say foundation, I mean where do I put my weight? So as you inhale, pressing hip bones forward and inhaling the chest up. So let's get the hand placement correct. We're going to draw the hands down to be in line with the chest. Now notice her elbows, we don't want them splaying out. We want them tight and in, so glued to the rib cage. On an inhalation, she's going to press the pelvis forward. That's going to propel her up. Her chest is going to lift up. The gaze is just forward, so we're not arching the neck. And she's drawing elbows and shoulders back towards the hips. On an exhalation, she's going to reach so far forward, like I'm coming to put an extra vertebrae in her spine, reaching through the crown of the head. Press into my hand. Yes, reaching, lengthening, slowly lowering down. Inhale, pressing hip bones forward, lifting, shoulders and elbows drawing back towards the hips. Yes, good job keeping the neck long this time. And on your exhalation, like I'm going to try to squeeze in that extra vertebrae, lengthen forward. You want to make it your goal to have the forehead touch like 1 millimeter ahead of where it started, right? So every move up and down lengthens your spine just a tad. You want to take this move, go ahead and relax. You can bring the fingertips under the forehead and wiggle the bum just to release. You want to take this move a minimum of 5 times and work your way up to take it a full 15 rounds. So you want to make sure that you're doing this with the proper contraction of the muscle, meaning you don't want to be squeezing the bum. So when you first start this exercise, it can be helpful to maybe think about it like, I'm going to take 15 rounds, but the first 7 or 8 is just going to be me squeezing my butt, then letting it go, and then pressing the hip bones into the floor so that you can feel how it feels to activate your glutes and your thighs through rooting down rather than through tension and squeezing. So you can, at the beginning of this, kind of get used to that action and then add on the lift of the heart as sort of your second phase. When that becomes more natural, working up to taking 15 repetitions of that dynamic cobra pose. So this is the end of our 4-part series on relieving pain in the low back. Please remember, yogis, that it's important to start at the beginning. It's a very good place to start. and add on these exercises, layering level 1, then level 2, level 3, then level 4. Ultimately, this is meant to create one long yoga therapy protocol to relieve low back pain. So you can use this at any time in your practice, in your life, to help relieve these chronic pains. Give it a try, experiment in your own body, and I wish you loads of health and happiness. Namaste.